Some very interesting haircuts have been on display there in that little film, but thankfully the mullet is gone. Really, Ethel, thank you so much. And it's daunting enough to receive an award with your husband's name on it, but to receive an award from you is very, very humbling, and we don't do humble very well around here. Much in the same spirit, I'd rather be the warm-up act tonight than to have to follow Jenny Williams, and who's done so much with Magadonga and for human rights in Africa, at risk to their own safety. These are real heroes. The women of Zimbabwe arise indeed. In fact, men of the rest of the world arise up indeed. That would be nice to follow them. I'm also very humbled to be sharing this award with another real hero of mine, my fellow troubadour, Wycliffe Jean. And it's really, really nice for me and Clef to be part of an evening that isn't a disaster. And seriously, disasters are a speciality of ours. And I don't mean the humanitarian kind. I mean the gala event put on to relieve the disaster kind. And Wycliffe and I are a dangerous, often doomed double act. And we've walked into empty stadiums that were supposed to be full. And I remember our manager, Paul McGuinness, walking us up saying, you know, I've spent all my life to try and stop you from being in situations where stadiums would be empty. And walking on stage, and Quincy Jones is conducting an orchestra. This happened in Giant Stadium. Quincy Jones is conducting, and Clef and myself walk up to him and go, Q, there's no one here. He goes, I don't have to look around. Anyway, and another great one we went to was, it was a great idea, sort of, was to mix fashion and music, and it had the very, very memorable title of Frock and Roll. And didn't really go off quite the way we'd expected either. Anyway, we've stumbled sometimes along the thin line between the worlds of politics and music, but whatever Wycliffe does, he will give himself to it totally and utterly. And Wycliffe Jean, you are my brother in arms, mon compagnon d'armes. Merci, mon ami. And there's a lot of brothers in arms here tonight. We've brothers in arms, we've sisters in arms, we've cousins in arms, aunts and uncle in arms, and all here to celebrate our spiritual godfather in arms, Robert Francis Kennedy. Now, but first, I would like to celebrate two Kennedys that I've been blessed to know, and I'm cursed to spend the rest of my life without, which is Eunice and Teddy. And most of you know that it was Bobby Shriver who co-founded Data, One, and Red with me, and I'd like to give it up for Bobby. But what you don't know is that the first person that I called was Eunice Shriver Kennedy. I didn't know Bobby then, but Eunice was a friend, and she used to turn up at our shows, actually, and she was an expert in all things Irish, a real hibernophile, and she made me call Bobby and encouraged Bobby to help me out. It was Eunice who offered strategic advice, financial support, encouragement, love. It was Eunice who cajoled people by the force of her personality into seeing that eliminating the debts of the poorest countries in certain circumstances was not a charity, but was justice indeed. And Eunice became the matriarch of our movement in a way, and she bent the ear of that great patriarch, Irish prize fighter, and a person who became a senior strategist for us, but Senator Teddy. And before I ever got to him, Eunice had bent his ear and got to him. And can you imagine what it was like to have these two, their wisdom in our corner. It was really transformational, and having Bobby Shriver day to day on this, who gave up so much of his regular life, was also decisive. It was Bobby Shriver more than anyone else who realized that the entreaties of the world's poor should not be held hostage to any one political party or even the Kennedy name. And to that end, he would quite literally hide in the bushes outside some meetings. And I'd say, Bobby, what are you doing in the bushes? He'd say, Bono, for this meeting, you don't really want a Kennedy. You should call Arnie. And I'd say, you know, I did call Arnie. And when I called him and explained we were having some difficulties with a certain senator or a congressperson, he'd say to me, yeah, Bono, that's what happens when you hang out with the Kennedys. Your life gets turned upside down. I could have told you. Anyway, Bobby and myself really believed that a united America can really do incredible things, and especially in the partisan atmosphere of 2009, it's worth remembering that, because this amazing brother and sister team, this 1-2 punch for justice, gave our movement its momentum with that thought behind it. And though we've lost them both this year, the work, as Teddy once said, goes on. And I know they were proud that because of debt relief, Africans have been able to send nearly 35 million, an extra 35 million children to school in the last 8 years, which is just incredible. And again, thanks to American unity, and George Bush deserves real credit here, and George Clooney, for people from the left and the right, from Hollywood and Heartland, came together. You have now a real force aligned against the AIDS pandemic, which is the greatest health crisis in 600 years. And there are 3 million Africans who take 2 pills a day and are alive because of the generosity of the United States of America and the fact that you came together. And I want to thank you and Red. That's the Red table over there. 135 million is pretty good for 3 years. This is the Kennedy legacy, and it's a living legacy.